This tutorial is about variables and what are they and how to define them. Now, in math, we use variables to, to create mathematical models. For example, in f is equal to ma, m is a variable that can take any value, and that value represents mass. Similarly, in programming, we can define variables and we tell basically what they mean. For example, in the previous problem where we converted mass into weight, I can say I want m to represent mass, and I can, in my command line, I can say m is equal to 2. What I'm saying is that this is an assignment of value 2 to variable m. And the minute I press enter, you will see that it echoes, basically tells me by echoing that, hey, m is equal to 2. And if now you go to the workspace, you will see a new variable has been created in the workspace whose value is 2 and the name is m. In a similar manner, I can define g to be 9.8, and same thing happens. And now I can multiply these two values together to get m into times g equals weight. So as you can see now, not any information that I have used has been lost. The mass is still available to me at any point. If I want to find out what value of mass I use, I can press M and see that value. And all of those things are still available to me, and I haven't lost anything in the process. Unlike previously, where only the last calculation was available in the ANS, now everything is available. Now this is actually a very powerful tool. We can define variables, use them in different equations, and then reuse them. And that kind of is one of the powerful things that is used in typical programming. At this point, I want to introduce another command called CLC. This means clear console. So this is a command line console, and as you can see that there is all this work that we did before. We can ask Matlab to clear it, so we basically get a clean slate. Now in the previous command, you saw how it echoes every time I give it a command. It echoes it. I can suppress that by putting a semicolon at the end, which means, hey, this is what I'm trying to tell you to do, m is equal to 2, but don't repeat it back to me. And as you can see, it won't echo it to you. Similarly, I can say g is 9.8 semicolon, and it won't echo it to you. And another advantage of this is that you can put these multiple commands in a single line as well. So for example, I could run the whole command on a single line by separating each component with a semicolon, and w is equal to m times g. And as you can see, it will run this whole set of 3 commands and doesn't clutter my screen. And if I want to see the value of w, I can either just press w and enter, or there's another fancy function called disp, and it's used for a little bit more complicated things as well, which we will come across later, but this will also display the value. But you see how the two differ. By pressing W, I'm echoing the variable, so it actually says W is equal to 19.6, but when I call it as a disp function, it displays the value of that variable, but not W is equal to. So there's a little bit difference that becomes useful when we are trying to display different things on the screen. So at this point, I think the purpose of this tutorial is to make sure that you understand that you can create named variables with alphabet to hold numbers, and then use those named variables in your calculations in the process. And something to be watchful, you cannot start a variable with a number. It always has to start with an alphabet. It can be a lowercase alphabet, it can be a uppercase alphabet, it can be a combination of alphabets. So I could say mass is equal to 2, and notice how it has created a variable named mass. So there is no limit on how you combine these alphabets. I think there's a limit on the length of the variable name of 255 characters, but I don't think we ever create a variable name normally with 255 characters. And then one other caution is try not to use the built-in functions as a name. So if I call sign equal to 4, um, it has created a variable sign for me, but now I have lost my sign function. If I say, oh, I want to find sine of pi by 2, it will give me an error because I overloaded that name. So avoid overloading names. So try to create variable names that are not built-in functions of MATLAB. This concludes this tutorial.